2022, it's here, and this could be the right year for you to start with video. So, if you want to learn more about how to set things, how to make yourself look good on camera, stay tuned because I will be back in a while with Kevin to talk about video. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another The Special Marketing Live Show episode. And today it's it's a good day for me because I will talk about video. And I think it's hard for you to believe, but I really love this format. Okay. And today I brought an amazing guest, Kevin Kolbe. I think I'm saying it the right way. And Kevin, it's I was thinking yesterday how to call him. I think it's kind of the all road video guy because he knows a lot about short videos, YouTube, about live video as well. So also he knows a lot about gear. So let me bring Kevin to the screen because he's in the basement there waiting. I think I left him a cookie and a glass of water because my budget doesn't allow anything else. So let me bring the guest. Let me see if this is working. There you go.
Reporting, reporting for duty. By the way, the snacks were phenomenal. Thank you.
Okay. So,
I'm glad I
yeah,
ate a light breakfast right before we did this.
they were from the last year, but
You know, considering what's in half of our food, I'm still drinking milk from 2 years ago, so who cares, right?
perfect. First of all, Kevin, thank you so much for joining me. It's a
Thank you for
pleasure, man.
having me on. I'm honored and that you would ask. So I really appreciate it.
Okay, it's my pleasure, as you may know, because I think one of the things that it's more characteristic about you it's that you kind of an all road on video because you know so many things about so many things on video. So I needed to have you. Thank you so much. If you don't mind, introduce yourself and then we can start with the conversation. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
well, I'm Kevin Kolbe, and I'm a video producer and a coach, content creator myself. Started years ago in the media business and radio. In fact, grew up thinking I was going to do a lot of stuff, and then was on radio for a while, and then got into television, and really just loved TV and was in TV for a long time, creative director at a Fox station for many years. And position went away, and I just started my own business. And I work with nonprofits, entrepreneurs, other creators, and businesses. And I just literally like to help people do more with video, share their gifts, impact the world. I absolutely just love creating. There was a short time after my position was cut that I didn't know what I was wanting to do, and I was playing with some videos, and a friend of mine said, "Dude, you got to stop. You got to stop creating and find a job." And I'm like, "Yeah, you're right." And that lasted for about 2 days, and I thought, it's in my DNA, man. I gotta create content, you know.
Yeah, and
So,
it's funny. And by the way, we have someone in the audience. Hello, Arnaldo. How are you? From okay, he's from Brazil, but right now he's in Portugal because
oh
he
wow,
wanted to get our amazing, lovely Portuguese winter. So Arnaldo, instead of being there in Brazil, feeling that hot summer, he likes to be here picking the cold winter.
yeah.
And we have Jim Fuse as well. Hello, Jim. How are you? So good to have you here as well. So you mentioned something. I was about to ask you, how did you start? You already talked about it. And I think we should talk about this as well because, for
Okay.
instance, my mother doesn't know what I do for a living. Okay,
My
she
parents
knows
still
that
don't
I
either.
am somewhere in laughing at the camera.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
So
get that same thing. My parents don't have internet. They're very I mean, they're way older. They don't have internet. They don't understand any of this. For years, they would just, now you do what exactly? Because they in fact they're not even sure I make money. They're like, well, can we send you like some gas money? And I'm like, I'm doing okay. They're in their 90s. I'm like, I'm doing I'm doing fine. But I mean, I came from traditional, what we call traditional media, which was like radio and then television. And when I got into television, there were only the few networks. Streaming wasn't even that big yet. And I've just been very blessed to be able to transition to digital media and realize that, there's so much you and I can do, and anybody watching this as a creator, without having to go to a committee or hope that only one of three outlets pick it up, and if they don't, your show or whatever you're going to do, then you're just out of luck. And it's like it's still an amazing time, isn't it, Marco, to be creating content, to do what you're doing right now.
absolutely, absolutely, and I think, and this is something that I've been thinking mostly lately because I started. I'm a My background it's marketing. I make a college degree in marketing. So first, as everybody, I went to work to someone else. Then I decided this is not for me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
then I started as a freelancer, a marketing consultant and trainer. And okay, now I need to create content because at the beginning I made offline insight trainings
Mm-hmm.
and free
Mm-hmm.
workshops, and that was not working because there's this all the work you need to do, and also you can't scale. Okay, so I
Yeah.
started doing my videos, then I went to live streaming, and suddenly in 2022 I look back and I see that that thing that I thought that would be like my path like this, it went woo.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah,
And
mine's done this all over, looks like spaghetti.
yeah, absolutely. And let's talk about this because you mentioned, and for me this is the thing right now, or one of the things is the
Mhm.
content creation
Right.
uh, world. What have you learned? How did you felt there? What do you like about?
So, I coming from the world of TV, where, we could see the impact a lot of times on video, just because. So, like, what I did in television for years, if you think of it, I was kind of like my team, we were the advertising agency, if you will, for the station, for the TV station. So we would be promoting the station and our newscasts and our TV shows. We worked very closely with Fox Network. And so I've always known the power that video could have. Then when I started doing my own thing and could work more directly with clients or just friends, or something like that, what it really has blown my mind. And in fact, I was just connecting with a guy last night that has a YouTube channel. He's out of Oregon. I don't even know where we met. And all of a sudden, we're connecting on Twitter. And then last night, we're having a conversation. And now we're talking about maybe doing a collaboration. And the ability to reach people just like that around the world. I mean, when I've done my live streams and somebody pops on from Brazil or Africa or North Dakota or somewhere like that, and you realize, oh, that's right. Or somebody signs on going, well, I've enjoyed it, I'm going to bed now. And I'm like, oh, dude, I just got up. Oh, that's right. And there truly is no, nothing like video. I mean, you can take video and create from it a blog post and a podcast and graphics and things like that, where the other ones, which are great. I mean, I love podcasts, I love blogging, and I think they all have a place, but it's
Absolutely.
harder work to take your blog and then turn that into a video. If you've got a podcast and you want to add video, you got to work harder at it. And video just cuts across everything. I mean, the streaming platforms are video first. And I think the more I do it, the more I'm just amazed at how far it keeps coming, and how much easier it is for people to become a content creator, or just document their own personal stuff. I mean, this is an iPhone 13 Pro just recently got, and is just as good as most of the cameras out there. And so even the entry point on having to need all this gear, you don't. You just don't. So yeah, I think those are the things that's really hit me the most. I mean, look, Mark, I remember when we got our very first high definition camera at the TV station. And people may not know that there was a point where high definition, not even 4K, just high definition, was a big thing. And I think we bought two because they were $50,000 a piece. The chief engineer kept them. You had to go sign it out. You had to be, sit through an inquisition, answer all these questions, take it out of the case, go shoot with it, and bring it back. Now I can take this and shoot 4K wherever I want, horizontal or vertical. And, I don't want to replace this every year, but if I had to, it wouldn't break the bank. And that's just amazing.
Indeed, indeed. And I need to make you a question before because there's so many questions popping up in my head, but I have this question because, as you know, I don't have this video background. I felt here by accident. Okay, but for someone who was used to work with so expensive cameras,
Mhm.
with us, that the thing of detail is so important, the video quality, and how it is for a sudden to come into this new world where sometimes you don't have the right gear, you don't
Right.
have the time, you don't have the resources to make a video as good as you were used to.
Yeah. Well, that is a great question. I mean, I will say that for the years that I was with the last TV station, the Fox affiliate, and the creative team, we were an entertainment based station. So we were constantly trying different things. And I mean, there was a little bitty camera that came out called the flip cam or something like that. Horrible quality. It looked almost like an iPod up. But there were things like that you would play with. But then, yeah, we would have to do the big commercials. So I think over time there was that fight within me. And I tend to be a perfectionist, which is really bad for being a content creator, because you just got to let things go. And we were talking before the show about the mistakes I've made live streaming. And I think, when you realize that it becomes easier to create over time, it frees you to create. The fact that, I mean, the funny thing is, and I joke with people, I've got more gear than I need, and I think I'm fine. It's like, I'm good. I'm not buying anything else. And then I'll flip over to Amazon or turn on YouTube,
Next
and I'll
week,
go,
till
ooh,
next week.
ooh, yeah, well, maybe I do need that. And I'm even trying to simplify some, like, for example, late last year, I decided to go with a webcam more than just my mirrorless camera for my webcam. Now I can still plug that in, but this is an Elgato face cam. I just got a Logitech Stream Cam the other day. I need to do a review on, but it looks fine. It's easy to turn on and go. And I think sometimes that becomes the barrier to creating, is that people that are just starting, they go out and buy a lot of stuff that they really don't know if they even need it. And then they're struggling trying to figure it out, and then maybe it doesn't look as good, and then they start worrying more about that than actually just putting their story out there and putting themselves out there. And people will be very forgiving, especially if you're bringing value in content, or you move them emotionally with a story or something like that. I mean, I've never had a client ever, not once, ask me before we do something. Now, what camera are you using, Kevin? Now let's talk about your lights. They're just not concerned about that. I think we as creators get far more wound up about that than anybody else.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need to talk about this because this is something really important, because sometimes people, they think this is too hard to put ourselves in front of the camera, because people will notice that, oh, my hair is not good, I need to put the proper, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not today, I'm not using lipstick, but
Good enough. Good enough. I left mine off too. I just because I knew you weren't going to wear yours.
but the thing, as you mentioned, is that, and this is, I think it's one of the biggest barriers, the look, and also we have this old excuse, which is not anything else than an excuse.
Yep.
I don't like my voice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
we have that problem when we hear our own
Yeah.
voice recorded, it sounds awkward.
Yeah.
This happened to all of us, it's
Yeah.
not just for me, for you, or for you
Oh yeah.
watching this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So which recommendations do you have to overcome these uh,
Well,
tiny things?
I mean, the funny thing is, I there was a huge DJ radio announcer years ago from my hometown that I mean, who knows how much money he was making, and he was known across the country. And if you asked him, he said, "Oh yeah, I hate my voice, absolutely hate my voice." But in radio, you pretty much are wearing headphones all the time, so you may never fall in love with your voice, but you get used to your voice. And the best advice I can give anybody is that, I mean, first of all, we're always going to be harder on ourselves. Always. I do. And now there's trolls out there, and there's people that just live to make other people miserable. And and sadly, it's probably because they're lacking something in their life, or they just feel better putting other people down. I do think that that's a minority of people, but I just always tell people, you got to give yourself grace. You got to be easy on yourself and realize you're going to have off days, you're going to have bad days, you're going to have great days, and if you just focus on the negative and what didn't work, it's always going to be that, I'm just not good enough and things like that. And I think any content creator will go through that. I mean, you go through these ebbs and flows, but it's, if you're putting all, and it's easy to do, but if you're putting all your self-worth, all your value in your metrics, then I think you run the risk of just being frustrated, by how many likes I got and how many times it was shared. Now, it is a rush when you get on YouTube and you see how your video's doing and that you're growing, and there's nothing wrong with that. But, success is so different for different people. What you may have success for you is different than me, is different from your viewers, and that's fine. That's fine. And the biggest thing is just give yourself grace, allow yourself to fail, but no, it doesn't make you a failure at all. Just learn from it and move on.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is a really great part, and I like to talk about this all the time, because I think there's this kind of dictatorship about metrics.
Yeah.
Uh, there's this crazy quote: "If you can't measure, it doesn't work," or whatever. And for instance, and I have this simple question, which you can answer to me. We have these average time views,
Yeah.
okay, and some people are crazy, oh, because if there's people which just watch 10 seconds, I won't be creating a 1 minute long video.
Yeah.
And this from because your clients are not watching 10-second video, they
No.
are watching the long videos, because they want to build trust about you, they want
Yeah.
to know what you're there to say. So what do you think about, for instance, how do you set the kind of the right time, if there's the right time for the length of your videos,
That's a great question. Here's the funny thing. So when coming from the world of TV, we never, ever had over 30 seconds. We lived in the world of 5 seconds and 10 seconds and 15-second and 30-second promos, as we would call them, promotional commercials for the station, or even commercials were generally 30. If we ever got a 60-second promo, it was like, typically it meant we weren't selling things as a TV station. That would be the only time we'd get like a 60-second. We never got anything longer ever. So the funny thing is, I was raised in a world of get to the point and be done with it and move on and get attention and stuff like that. Then you get into the world of online where you're not bound by time. I share that to say I don't think there is any right length. I think it needs to be as long as it needs to be or as short as it needs to be. If I'm teaching you on how to record your screen on the iPhone, for example, I don't know that it needs to be a 30-minute tutorial, but if I can do it and it takes 3 to 4 minutes and you walk away with like, oh, okay, I didn't know that, then it was the right length. And I know what, as a user, if I'm looking for something specific, sometimes I will go to the shorter video if it's just something very specific I need to know that I want to learn or something like that. But other than that, if it's engaging and things like that, I don't know that there is a perfect length. Now you get into shorts and reels and things like that, you do have a max length that you can go. But even TikTok, and I'm not a fan of TikTok, but even TikTok now has said, hey, we're going to go to 3-minute videos. A platform born on 15 seconds and then expanding, now they're going to go to 3 minutes. And I think my gut is because probably of YouTube, but also because they want to give creators a little bit more time to just share rather than just like edit, 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 chop, 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 done. Because it's hard to really, I think, build a relationship with somebody when you're just cranking out 15-second stuff. It just is.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you mentioned that ideas. How do you get the ideas? Because this is another, how can I say, another dragon
Yeah.
avoiding
Yeah,
preventing you.
I wish I could tell you really where the ideas come from. I used to joke a lot that I was dropped a lot as a child, and that's the way I am. Until I said that once I was giving a talk, and my mother was in the audience, and she didn't think that was funny, so I don't say that anymore. But I keep I keep idea files. So like I'm a Mac guy, so I use Apple Notes because it's free and it's easy. So if I have a thought, I'll just jot it down. Voice memos. I also use. I found out. I told my wife once that, and if you're not familiar, if you're not an iPhone user, there's a built-in recorder on the iPhone, and it's simple. You hit it and it starts recording. You can speak into it, and that's pretty much all it does. But I found out one day that I'm more of an audio journaler. So I'll be in my truck or something, and I'll have an idea. And if it's one of those where it's like, I may not remember this an hour from now, I'll just hit record and start talking it out. And sometimes that helps me think it out. But, there's other tools like if you use TubeBuddy, TubeBuddy has an idea planner or topic planner, I think they call it. But a lot of times it's just keeping ideas. I've got notebooks that I'll write down things. I typically don't go back to those as well as I do digital. But, or you see something that sparks an idea. One of my favorite tools is called Pocket, and it's free. And I'll be, reading something and I'll go, oh, let me come back to that later, and I'll save it to the Pocket. And then that way I can go back later and read that article or do something from that. So, I mean, ideas can come from anywhere at any time. Watching a show, I've had them sitting in church before when I should have been paying attention. Oh, that's a good idea oh, okay, I didn't pay attention. But I think it's capturing them in those moments. I'm not a fan of keeping something by my bed. So if I wake up in the middle of the night, which I do because I'm old now, so I don't wake up in the middle of the night and scribble that down. I don't even keep personally my phone in our bedroom. I keep it up in the office I'm in now, just because I have to disconnect. But those are some ways that I just capture ideas, and sometimes they lead to nothing, and sometimes they launch other things, and sometimes they completely take like you were talking about, pew, they take a completely different direction. And I've even shot stuff before, and I think this is important for your viewers to hear, especially if they're just starting. I do believe in putting yourself out there, but I have shot things before where I go back and look at it and I'm like, it's just not time for that right now, or it was too much about me, and I just don't release it. It's rare, but sometimes I just don't. It just didn't work out. Or sometimes I do publish it and it just doesn't perform, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Let's do the next one.
That's great. You just mentioned it's not about me. And I think this is one of the problems that sometimes we find on content creators. It's too much about them
Yeah,
and not that much about the audience.
yeah,
Your thoughts on this? How do you think that we can make the right balance
yeah.
to be more about the audience?
Yeah, and that is a fantastic question because there are a lot of creators I follow that you could argue it's all about them. Casey Neistat, of course he's hardly vlogging anymore. But if you really look at Casey's stuff, he's always telling a story. You feel like you know the guy and it's in the world. I think where I get bored is that, I don't need to see you make coffee and put your shoes on and get in your car and drive to work just to tell me, how to make it on Instagram. And I think sometimes that's the trap we get into. I love vlogs. I love vlog style editing. I've done my own vlogs. But I think, sometimes we feel like it's all about us. Now, separate that though from people fall in love with you, Marco, and they love your accent, or they like your message or they like your content, and you bring that personality out when you're doing it. That's huge and that's fine. And I think there are those times when we want to do things about, our day or something that didn't go as planned. I mean, one of my I love the guy, I love his work, and we've become friends over the last couple of years. Is Scott McKenna, and he's got a great channel. And if you go to his YouTube channel, it says documenting the journey, and he tells you straight up is that he's just documenting his journey, and so he shares a lot of him, but it never feels like it's just about him. You feel like it's a conversation, and that may be the best way to define it. If I feel like I'm watching a talk, I don't really feel that connected. I mean, you can. I mean, you can watch a TED talk or something like that, but for the most part, if it feels like a conversation, then I feel like, okay, you're talking to me and you're sharing with me. And sometimes I think that's a hard thing to learn and do because you got to kind of let go of yourself and realize that ultimately, I should be creating for the audience. So it's I don't want to make it sound like it's just easy to do, but I think, maybe look at the creators you like following, and why. How does it make you feel when you watch it? And if it's like, yeah, I'd hang out with that person because it's not just all about them, even though they may be sharing their life. I think those are little traits you can pick up on.
Absolutely, absolutely. And now I have a tricky question for you. And I like to make this question because I think as creators we need to think about it, and which is we know that some people just follow us, they look at our content and they like, hopefully they like our content, and hopefully even more hopefully they will try to start their journey. But don't you think two things?
Hmm.
First thing, maybe, and one of the things we like to do, as content creators, as you mentioned as well. We like to improve, bring new stuff, and
Hmm.
try new stuff to look better on camera, to sound better, and these kind of things. First question: don't you think that this could be kind of a barrier we are creating to new people? Because oh my God, he's or she's so good, I can't
Oh,
get that
yeah.
quality. So I'm not starting. This is a problem.
Yeah.
A problem B
Yeah.
is maybe they will try to copy
Yeah.
our tone,
Yep.
and this is a big problem as well.
Oh
Your
yeah.
thoughts on
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. I can share a personal story that
Okay,
actually
perfect.
I thought was kind of funny is that so a friend of mine, one of my closest friends, who well, I'll tell you how close we are. He and his wife are like our godparents to our kids. So we've known each other for years. And a year or so ago, I don't remember when, within a couple of years, I finally got him to start a YouTube channel because he kept talking about it. And he's a woodworker and he makes things, but he can also like, how do you install a doorbell or something like that. So he's really good. And he's actually seen some amazing success. And he told me the other day, he said, "Well, not too long ago, I tried to copy you." And I said, "What?" Because we have very different styles. And I always give him grief. I say, "You think you're funny, but you're really not," but he is. But I don't want him to know that. But he was trying, but he told me he was telling his wife Tracy that he tried to do a video, which I don't even know what my style is, and he showed it to her, and she's like, "Stop trying to be like Kevin, be like you." And I'm like, "Yeah, first of all, thank you, but second of all, why?" And you're right. It's so you're asking to me like the $6 million question. I don't know why I put that value on it, but and it's fantastic in both its parts. So there's a great video that Casey Neistat did. Casey Neistat did it on how to vlog like Casey Neistat. And he kind of walks you through his process, and it's so well done. But he says at the end of it, now, after and I'm paraphrasing, but now, if you try and do everything I did just like I did, you failed. Don't. And his point and I don't know how many people get that. He's showing you techniques and how it works for him that you can then take and make your own. But too many people then try and vlog like Casey. If there's like you know an imitation Casey and a Casey, I'm gonna watch Casey. I just
Absolutely.
am. Sorry, you don't have a shot with me. But bring your own personality. So I think it's easy to look at other people and then try and emulate them, which is the wrong thing to do. Learn from them, get to know them. But if you're just trying to copy them, now you may look at some of the things they've done in their structure or how they talk to the audience or something like that and go, oh, okay, I got that. Like Sean Cannell, friend of mine, mentor, just, I believe in everything he's doing in terms of growth. I mean, you can see it in his company and his channels. There's structure he teaches, but he's never said, do it like I do, you know? So that's one. And then two, and this is really easy to do. It is really easy to do. Comparison can be a creative killer because we tend to look at somebody where they are now and never look at what it took to get there. So, the world loves the well, he was an overnight sensation or an overnight success. No, they weren't. I mean, let's look at Billie Eilish. What is she like 21 now, maybe? Incredible singer. I really didn't care for her for a while. Well, people will go, well, wow, overnight sensation. No, she's actually been singing and writing for quite a while, even though she's still young. And I think that's the danger. You look at name quote successful business person, whatever, and this could even be somebody like a Richard Branson, or anybody. And you go, wow, look at that. Well, yeah, but look at what they got to get there and look at the things they did that did more. Elon Musk has created just as many companies that never made it than Tesla and things like that. So I think it's easy going back to the giving yourself grace. You got to allow yourself to grow. You got to allow yourself to be you. and find your own voice. Learn from others. But if you get into copying, and that's why I don't like things like hacks and things like that, because you tend to want to follow that exactly like that, rather than, okay, what kind of works for me, and how am I supposed to be, and stuff like that. So I think that's the danger. It's a great question you asked. It's easy to trap to fall into. I mean, I will still look at creators I like and go, man, I wish I could do something like that. And it's like, I'm not meant to do something like that. I'm just not. My stories are going to look different than your stories, are going to look different than Peter McKinnon's stories, or something like that, because, we're all, we're all gifted, but yet we can use them differently. It's like why you and I can look at the same piece of art and see it differently, completely.
Absolutely. And you may love it and I may hate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, 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 yeah. Well, funny analogy to that. So years and years ago, driving down a road, and I was with a friend of mine, and we drove by this church with this huge ornate steeple on it, and we both saw the same thing. And at the same time, her response was, "Wow, that is so amazing." And my response was, if that thing fell, it'd go all the way across the road. I mean, completely different reactions to the exact same thing.
Indeed, indeed. And this could be a nice question as well, a nice topic to talk about, because as I like to say, we can I usually I mention I say this about live streaming, because for me it is like of the most difficult format, because it's in real time. There's no
Absolutely.
safety net.
Yep.
There's no that thing, okay, let me hit pause, let me hit play, let me cut here.
Let me delete all
But
this and start over.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I think we can bring this to video as well, because we are so exposed.
Hmm.
That's just me here. Okay, how do you think that we can, for those people who are watching and they may fear this kind of naked feel, because
Yeah.
it's only me and my guitar?
I like
Which
that. Yeah.
advices can you give them to avoid this fear?
Well, I mean, again, it's a great question, because when you get into doing what we do, you're putting yourself out there. I mean, there are businesses that you never see the person who owns the business or runs the business, because they've started it and other people manage it or whatever. And but with video, especially if you're fronting your own channel, or your own page or whatever, you're you're putting yourself out there, and it comes with risks. It comes with ups and downs. There will be people that we talked about a few minutes ago, that they don't like you. They don't like what you do. Thankfully, haven't had a ton of those. The beauty is there's filters in place. Now we're kind of getting into the weeds now, but you can go into your YouTube studio, for example, and you can make sure that certain words don't appear. And and even YouTube occasionally will hold a comment for you to look at to see, is this something you want on your channel? Some things get through. Live streaming, a lot of times it's easier for people to get through. But it's unfortunate that it happens. So I think you've got to be prepared for that, but not overly concerned about it. Because I think that can just really paralyze you from wanting to do stuff. But yeah, look, for years I worked in TV, and the news anchors, the people that were probably the highest paid at the TV station to give you the news every night. I'm still friends with several of them, and I can't tell you how many times they would change their hair or glasses or wear a different outfit, and the mail that they would get, like, why would you wear that? You look horrible. And it kind of goes with it when what we do like this, and of course, now that we can be, the World Wide Web is not bound by anything. It's everywhere, unless a country doesn't allow that, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And it's just it's part of it when you put your things out, put yourself out there. I do think you need to be careful about what you share, in terms of names and addresses and locations and stuff like that, especially with family. I mean, even growing up, how much I shared about kids and stuff like that was different. I typically don't get too deep into the woods about where exactly I live. So I think there's things like that you need to be aware of. But yeah, when we put ourselves out there on the World Wide Web, more people can access us and see us. I like to think that more people either just don't care or will connect with us because they like us, or they want to know more, or they want to work with us. But it's just something to know about now. And I think this is important to say, there are lines people can cross when it comes to like hate or violence or something like that. And what I would say to anybody watching this is, don't take that lightly. If you ever get a threat on any social media, report it. Report it. First of all, you don't deserve it, and second of all, you don't want to just, well, maybe they were just blowing off steam. Report it, because there's not a place for that at all. And then thankfully, hopefully, you won't experience much of that. But definitely take those serious and report them.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And there's another thing. Because as we mentioned, this is content creation time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. There are so many people there creating content, video, podcasting, mostly then Clubhouse, whatever. So, is there room for me as a beginner to arrive, or the place is already too crowded?
No, it's no to it's not too crowded. Yes, there is room for you. Again, it goes back to, if somebody's just getting started today and they discover Mr. Beast and they look there and go, oh, well, first of all, if they even know what a subscriber is, right? If they even know anything about it, and then they go, well, I can't do that. Well, yeah, but he didn't just start yesterday and have 5 million subscribers. He's been at it a little bit. He's made it a thing. So yeah, there's always room for somebody else, because even if you do the exact same thing, let's say you're a seamstress, you make incredible wedding gowns. Chances are there's somebody else that does it too, but you're going to do it differently. You're going to have a different take on it. You're going to have a different experience on it. But considering how many people are still just coming onto a platform every day, um, let's just take YouTube, for example. You and I know you know this, but you and I can go to YouTube right now and type in um, how to unclog a toilet. I don't know why I thought about that. And we would get two completely different results. In fact, our home pages, our feeds would look completely different. So think about that. So that alone, absolutely. There's always somebody being born. There's always somebody discovering something. I know people like, I could mention. I was talking to somebody the other day about Peter McKinnon, one of my favorite creators on YouTube, and they had no idea who I was talking about. But yet I can mention somebody I know that I think is an amazing photographer that you may not have heard about. So think about that. Our world is this big, really, but we have the potential to reach so many people. And that's why you can really, niche down, as they call it, or you can go wider and reach more people. I mean, I have people that will comment on my videos that they don't subscribe to me, because we know if they do or not in YouTube. And so how did they find it? I don't know. They were searching. It was something they were looking for. They felt strong enough to leave a comment. That's huge. That's huge. So if I hadn't been there, they might have found somebody else. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And let's focus a little bit more on YouTube, because I think there's so many opportunities
Oh
there.
yeah. Absolutely.
Give me a kind of a big picture about the importance of being on YouTube.
So YouTube is the second. Let's just talk about strictly what it is. YouTube is a search engine. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, if you really think about social media, so YouTube gets lumped into there. Like I have a folder on my browser called social, and in it I have Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube because it's just easier, right? But YouTube is really a search engine. People go there to be entertained or educated. I mean, that's really the two types of things on there. If you're watching news, you're being educated. If you're watching a fun video, you're being entertained, or you can combine those two. Google owns YouTube. Google is the number one search engine. What are they going to serve up video wise? They're going to serve up YouTube videos. And all you got to do is just Google something, and if there are videos related to that, they're going to serve up, right? So that's huge. And then when you've got a platform like YouTube, and so YouTube is also unique in that there is no other platform where you can do what's called evergreen content, and it live forever and actually has the potential to get views and earn money. I mean, what was it I looked at the other day? I forgot what it was, but I went to YouTube and searched something, and the first video YouTube served to me, which is important. They're finding videos for me, right? Or you or whoever's on there, was like 8 years old. I think the next one was 5 years old. Did it make them irrelevant? Maybe if it was like something that you didn't make anymore, or I was trying to figure out how to fix a BlackBerry phone and they don't exist anymore. But think about that. And you can't search like that anywhere else. You can't go to TikTok and search like that. You can't go to Instagram. You can't go to Facebook. And so when you combine that with the power that YouTube has, and that it's free, that you can go live on there, you can produce content, you can go long or short. You've got shorts now. At some point, you might get the community tab. You have a chance to make money there in the partner program. There is no other platform like it that is free, that gives you all of these things, and you don't have to have a huge channel to have a maximum impact with people. You just don't. And views and subscribers just don't coincide. My buddy, I was mentioning earlier that he finally got on YouTube. He's on track in the next month to hit 1 million views. And I think he's only been at it for a year and a half, 2 years, with only 2,000 subscribers. So think about that.
I wish.
And he's making money. The other day he said, "Man, November was a really good month for AdSense," and he's had a couple of brands reach out to him because of that. So it doesn't really matter whether you run a small business, a large business, you have a nonprofit. I work a lot with nonprofits. You're just a personal creator. If YouTube is not in your mix, I think you're really missing out on using the biggest platform, which is easy to use. Not that you can just go in and master and just get thousands and thousands of views, but you can use it strategically to grow and touch lives. And then you could take that video and put it on blog posts and do different things. And it's just amazing. I can't stress enough that how big YouTube can be for anyone. Doesn't matter how old you are, what gear you've got, what your field is. There's an audience for it, for you.
Perfect. What for you the most important things, because there are so many moving parts on YouTube. There's the thumbnail, the description, the title, the tags, and creating playlists. If you had to prioritize up to 5 options, which were those you will put on the first place, second place, and so on till the fifth?
Well, I definitely believe that thumbnails have to be number one, because in reality, it doesn't matter whether you're on your mobile or, your desktop. That's what's catching your eye. I mean, if you think of it like a Netflix, Netflix, when you're scrolling by, it's typically that thumbnail that's going to catch your attention. I mean, Hollywood spends a ton of money on their posters and their images to get you. Now, for the last Avengers movie, they could have just said, Avengers last movie, and it would have made a gazillion dollars. I'd have been there on opening night. It wouldn't have mattered, right? But a lot of times we don't know what these things are about. So your thumbnail. Now, I go back and forth on how complex and how over the top it's got to be, as opposed to just clear. And then the title kind of fits with that too. It's like, oh, okay, this is about, yeah, this is why I need to check this out. How is it going to change my life? Why do I need it? I may not, because there's a lot of things in there that I may not be interested in. And then, the description, this is my belief. I don't think you have to go crazy on the description, because typically if I'm clicking on the thumbnail, because if I'm not interested in it, I'm passing it. So it doesn't really matter how good or bad your video is, right? If you never click on it, it ain't going to matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
You could do the best video since the history of video. And if nobody clicks on it, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. So the thumbnail and the title, I think, is there. The description, give me enough information, but I don't, if I open your description and there's like, a blog post there, I ain't reading it. It's just too much for me. Tags, they just really don't matter. I wouldn't put any time into it. But then also your content is what are you saying in there? And, are you delivering value? I know there's some creators and gurus out there that get caught up in quality. You got to put quality content out there. The problem with saying that is it doesn't really mean anything. It just doesn't. And I always equate it to Hollywood, is that the Blair Witch Project made an insane amount of money and was shot like on just a high-8 camera and just really crappy equipment. And then there's other movies that have spent millions and millions of dollars that have not done anything. So I would say, what does the thumbnail look like? Does it match the content? There's nothing wrong with clickbait as long as you deliver on it. Clickbait is when you don't deliver at all on the promise. It's like a magazine cover.
Yeah.
Why would I want to pick this up and even open it? And is the title clear? And I think keywords are good. But I think you want to, and this is a tough thing, you want to write for people, not a machine. And then just focus on, on what the value is of your content and what you're saying in there and things like that. Another advantage to YouTube, and this goes back to your earlier question, is if you have a video that, you just believe could be doing better, because it's like, and it's not because you worked hard on it. That's an ego thing. I've been there too, but it's like, no, there's really information in here that I want more people to see. You can go and change the thumbnail. You can go and change the title, because maybe it's that's not getting the click. And I've done this before. I do A/B testing sometimes in TubeBuddy, but I've gone in and changed the thumbnail because it's like, there's information there that I know is good information that will help people, but not enough people are clicking on it. So maybe I need to change the wrapper and do something different and just see if more people will get exposed to it. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you just got to move on to the next one.
Perfect. And you just mentioned one of the YouTuber's favorite tools, TubeBuddy.
Yep.
Do you want to share some other tools that for you it's kind of, I need to use them?
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I just dropped a video today called, what was the name? 5 tools every content creator needs.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Marco. Goodbye, everybody. No. So these are tools I use all the time. Ironically, TubeBuddy wasn't in there, even though I use TubeBuddy. vidIQ is also good as well. I've used them both. I just tend to use TubeBuddy more. Ironically, talking to somebody yesterday whose channel has just taken off like a rocket and doesn't use either one of them. So there is that, right? But the tools that I think everybody needs is like Canva. So Canva is my go-to. Canva to me is just the easiest way to make graphics. If you've never done graphics before, there's gazillions of templates in there, and they have video and they have sound effects. They have templates for everything. I mean, you could do a presentation in there. In fact, whenever I've done video and I have full screen graphics, I've done all those in Canva. My logos are done in Canva. That's one. I would say something like story blocks. And even if you don't do story blocks, stock footage. Stock footage is amazing sometimes if you need a shot of maybe somebody working on a computer to put that in there. Story blocks is nice because they also have images and music. Production music. I think too often I use story blocks and Soundstripe. Um, I think too often people are looking for the free things, and I'm cheap, Marco. If I don't have to spend a dime, I'm not spending a dime. But too often people are looking
I'm
for the
Portuguese.
hey, yeah, I don't want to spend anything, but sometimes you have to pay to get
Yes.
better stuff, and by going with production music you pay for, you don't risk copyright strikes, which can be really bad, and royalty claims and things like that, and it allows you to use the music. So when you start talking about that, now there's other things too that when it comes to editing, I'm a Final Cut guy, but if you're on a Mac, you've never edited before, use iMovie. It's free, it comes with it. um or go live until you get used to kind of that. Now realize you have to kind of build up to go live, but there's certain things you can do. Again, going to the Mac, I mean, there's free programs that come with your Mac. You can use QuickTime to record. You can video or audio and screen capture. You can use GarageBand just to master and mix your audio. You can use iMovie to edit, and you didn't pay for any of those. And then you've also got their suite of tools, like what do they call it, Pages and Keynote or whatever. So I think those are the type things. It's like when you start talking about audio, music, sound effects, video, what are images and stock footage you can use, in terms of graphics, like thumbnails or a lower third or something like that. I know you're using StreamYard, which is another one of my favorite live streaming platforms that you can record on too. I don't know if people know that a lot. And you could do your graphics and like your background and stuff. You can create those and really give your videos or your live streams a different look. So those are tools that I think people should be looking at. And I like ease of use. I like affordability. I like it be able to do multiple things. And then as you get more advanced, I use I edit on Final Cut. I use a lot of plugins from Motion VFX because they will give you cool animations and different things without you don't have to be an animator to use it. So again, that barrier of entrance is very low. But I wouldn't put Motion VFX as one of those things you've absolutely got to have if you're just starting. It can be overwhelming.
Perfect. Perfect. Really nice. We are almost finishing, but before that, I need to ask you because I don't like to ask the only one advice because there's one thing that I like to answer when people, Marco, if you have to leave an advice, which one will it be?
Yeah.
It's and my advice is never ask just one advice
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it is too short.
Yeah. I
So
agree.
I think three it's a good number. Three advices for people to take advantage of video on 2022.
Well, I would say get started. I like to say the best time to start was yesterday. The second best time to start is today. Just get started. If you don't know what you want to say in your first video, make that your first video. I mean, chances are few people will see it. You're gonna grow. It could be your biggest video. We don't know, but just get started. Put yourself out there. Use what you've got. Don't worry about getting the best. There is no best camera. There's no best mic. I love this mic, and you know what? A year from now, I may have a different mic. You have a different mic than I have, and cameras and things like that. Don't get caught up in the best. Don't get caught up in trying to have everything. Start with what you've got. I can't tell you how many people say, "Well, I'm using my iPhone. I want to use something different." Why? Why? Use what you've got. And the third one that we talked about earlier is just give yourself grace. You know, if you're not having fun, then you may need to reevaluate it. Now, I realize that some people, work for companies that have to create content, but I don't think that's what we're talking about. I mean, ultimately, I like to be on platforms I enjoy, and I like to create content because I like creating and connecting with people. And a lot of the other stuff will just come. It just will.
Perfect, perfect. Thank you so much. Where can people find you and that article about the 5 tools as well?
Yeah, so you can check out my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Kevin Kolbe. And that video just dropped today. And I do think the title is 5 tools every content creator needs. Um, so make sure you watch it and love on it, and seriously, if there's a tool I didn't mention, somebody can drop a comment. KevinKolbe.com is my main website. That's where people can see some of the things I've done or reach out to me if they want to work together or something like that. So those would be the best ones that I would say you could go to, is check out my YouTube channel or just my website at kevinkolbe.com. And then that's got links to everything, including tools I use and gear and things like that too. But don't buy anything just because I say it. Make sure it works for you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Kevin. We have Arnaldo saying, great meeting, tips and information. Thanks. Thanks so
Thank you.
much for staying there and watching us, Arnaldo. Thank you so much, Kevin. It was a pleasure. Maybe in the future we can do this on Amazon Live as well, and maybe
Yeah.
we can dig a
Talk
little
about
bit
Amazon
more
Live. Yeah. Yep.
about gear,
Yep.
because Amazon Live it's about talking about
Yep.
gear.
Yep.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, an honor to have you here. It was a
No, thank
really
you for having
insightful
me. I
and
appreciate it.
entertaining conversation. Thanks to all of you who were just watching us. Hope this was so entertaining and insightful as it was for me. I'll be back next week, so tune in. Wish you an amazing, because this is the first the special marketing live show of the year. So I'm wishing you an amazing 2022. Enjoy the year. Okay, so we will be back. I will be back next week. Go, Kevin. Hopefully, we'll be back soon as well. So
You just tell me
bye
when.
bye. Bye bye.